The United States of America is frequently praised as a prime example of a prosperous economy. Its population has a high level of living in comparison to many other countries, and it has the largest GDP in the world. However, there is a dark side that is frequently neglected or hidden beneath this appearance of affluence. We shall look at a few of the negative effects of the U.S. economy's success in this essay. First and foremost, the environment has suffered greatly as a result of the USA's economic development. One of the world's biggest consumers of fossil fuels, the country significantly contributes to greenhouse gas emissions through its industrial operations. Rising sea levels, a rise in the frequency and intensity of natural disasters, and the extinction of numerous plant and animal species are just a few of the negative effects that have occurred from this. Despite this, the USA has resisted making a decision to combat climate change, and its policies continue to place an emphasis on economic expansion over environmental protection. The rise in income inequality brought on by decades of neoliberal policies is another negative aspect of the U.S. economy's prosperity. The middle class and working class have found it difficult to stay up as the wealthiest Americans have enjoyed increases in their income and wealth. The top 1% of Americans now own more money than the bottom 90% of Americans as a result of this expanding wealth inequality. Due to the wealthy's disproportionate influence over politics, this has not only created social and economic inequality, but also political polarization. The exploitation of its workforce has also contributed to the USA's economic success. It has among of the worst labor protections in the world, despite being one of the richest countries. Many Americans put in long hours for meager pay with no paid time off, health coverage, or other perks. Racial and gender discrimination in the workplace has a long history in the country, with women and people of color frequently receiving lower pay and less possibilities for promotion than their white male peers. The United States' need on warfare and imperialism to uphold its worldwide hegemony is another negative aspect of its economic success. More than half of the federal budget is spent on the military, dwarfing that of any other country. In addition, the USA has participated in a great number of wars and military operations throughout the world, frequently in order to further its own economic and political objectives. Untold amounts of human suffering and destruction have resulted from this, particularly in nations that have been the target of U.S. military action. The economic prosperity of the USA has come at a high cost to the mental health and general well-being of its people. In addition to having one of the highest rates of addiction and substance misuse in the world, the country also has one of the highest rates of depression and anxiety. This is a result of the nation's subpar healthcare system, which fails to give many of its residents proper access to mental health care, as well as the pressures of living in a society that places a premium on success and achievement. The effect on foreign relations and trade is another part of the negative side of American economic prosperity. Given that the U.S. economy is among the biggest and most powerful in the world, its policies and actions can have a big impact on other countries. For instance, the USA's emphasis on free trade and globalization has caused manufacturing employment to be outsourced to nations with lower labor costs, including China and Mexico. Consumers in the USA have seen prices drop as a result, but many towns have also experienced job losses and economic upheaval. Additionally, the U.S.'s trade policies have strained relations with other countries like China and have fueled the global growth of populist and nationalist forces. The USA's economic prosperity has also been followed by a growth in materialism and consumption, which has accelerated resource depletion and environmental deterioration. American consumption of the world's resources, such as food, water, and fossil fuels, is out of proportion, which has caused ecological disaster and climatic change. The concentration of wealth and power in the hands of a few elite has been one effect of the USA's economic success. The top 1% of Americans own more wealth than the poorest 90%, according to a survey by Oxfam. The majority of Americans frequently suffer as a result of the super-rich's outsized influence on politics and policymaking due to this wealth concentration. For instance, through political donations and lobbying, affluent donors have been able to impact elections and policy decisions. This has resulted in policies that favor the interests of the wealthy at the expense of the environment, workers, and other marginalized groups, such as tax cuts and deregulation. Furthermore, the lack of opportunity for many Americans and the reduction in social mobility are both results of the concentration of wealth. Children from wealthy families have access to the greatest healthcare, education, and employment possibilities. while those from less affluent origins frequently encounter obstacles to achievement. This limits the potential of millions of Americans and feeds an unbreakable cycle of inequality. The effects on the environment are just another negative aspect of American economic success. The USA is one of the world's largest producers of greenhouse gas emissions, which contribute to global climate change. The country's reliance on fossil fuels, particularly coal, has led to air and water pollution that is harmful to human health and the environment. Additionally, the USA's economic expansion has frequently come at the price of biodiversity and natural environments. The nation's lengthy history of resource extraction and land exploitation has resulted in ecosystem devastation and the extinction of animals. This has impacted indigenous groups' livelihoods and cultures in addition to harming the environment. Along with the economic growth of the USA has come a rise in social and political polarization. Many Americans feel alone and far from one another as a result of the country's widening political, ideological, and cultural division. As a result, there has been a decline in civility and trust, as well as an increase in political extremism and violence. Another potential solution to addressing the dark side of the USA's economic success is to promote a more global perspective and increase cooperation with other nations. The USA is a big player in the global economy, and the effects of its decisions on other nations and the entire world are profound. For example, the USA could take a leadership role in addressing climate change by supporting international agreements like the Paris Agreement and investing in renewable energy and sustainable development projects in developing countries. The USA might also collaborate with other nations to address international problems like poverty, disease, and conflict, fostering collaboration and understanding across nations. Moreover, the USA can reevaluate its foreign policy and economic relationships with other countries to ensure that they are mutually beneficial and respectful. The USA has a history of supporting authoritarian regimes and exploiting resources in developing countries, often to the detriment of local communities and the environment. By promoting fair trade and ethical business practices, the USA could build stronger relationships with other countries and create a more sustainable and equitable global economy. Finally, the USA could prioritize diplomacy and conflict resolution over military intervention and aggression. The USA has a long history of military intervention and support for authoritarian regimes, often in the name of economic or geopolitical interests. However, this approach has often led to devastating consequences for the countries involved, as well as for U.S. soldiers and citizens. By prioritizing diplomacy, the USA could promote peace and stability, reduce the risk of conflict, and promote a more just and equitable global order. It is important to keep in mind that resolving the negative aspects of the U.S. economy's prosperity will not be simple or quick. In addition to a readiness to take on entrenched interests and power structures, it will necessitate fundamental changes in attitudes, policies, and behaviors. It will also be necessary to acknowledge and work to correct the historical and systemic injustices that have contributed to the current situation. Additionally, resolving the negative effects of the United States' economic success will call for a long-term outlook, as well as a dedication to sustainability and social responsibility. This entails striking a balance between immediate economic benefits and long-term social and environmental effects, as well as supporting laws and procedures that put the welfare of all Americans and the entire planet above all else. Additionally, working with a wide range of stakeholders, such as corporations, communities, NGOs, and governments at all levels, will be necessary to address the negative aspects of the U.S. economy's success. This entails promoting transparency and accountability, creating collaborations, and encouraging conversation. In conclusion, addressing the dark side of the USA's economic success will require a comprehensive approach that addresses environmental, social, economic, and political issues. By promoting sustainability, social equality, global cooperation, and diplomacy, the USA can create a more just and equitable future for all Americans and the world. Thanks so much for watching till the end. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and turn the notification bell on so you never miss a video. Until next time, see you later.